Pepin, Wisconsin is where the Little House in the Big Woods takes place. This replica cabin is on the site that the Ingalls family called home and where Laura Ingalls Wilder was born and where the great Little House on the Prairie series starts. When we first meet Charles Ingalls, or Pa, in 1867, he appears as a well-rounded, fully formed fiddler and singer, but his training would have started over 25 years earlier when he was a young man living in northern Illinois. Rather than formal training, it is far more likely that Pa would have grown up listening to the music of the day, watching other fiddlers, then trying out some fiddling on other people's instruments when he was big enough to hold one, probably at about age 8 to 10, before eventually acquiring his own. His instrument case is dated 1850, so it's possible that that's when he finally bought his own fiddle. His fiddle was a German-manufactured model, much like mine, that was mass-produced and a very common instrument in his day. What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin? Now, other than being a really good setup line for a lot of great fiddle jokes, there really is no difference. Fiddlers might change their bridge, opt for some different strings, or a bow with a little rougher texture hair, but these are all pretty minor. Now, as Pa matured and moved around the upper Midwest, he picked up popular tunes of the day, as well as tunes from his neighbors. However, in northern Illinois, Charles would have started his musical journey with the English, Scottish, and Quebecois, or French-Canadian traditions from New York State, which we think of in the Midwest as the Yorker traditions. Here's a very traditional Scottish tune that Laura mentions in her books that Pa likely learned in his early years, called Miss MacLeod's Reel. The style of music, however, changed when it came to America. One of the biggest changes was the Scottish hornpipe. In the old country, this was a medium tempo tune in a dotted eighth pattern that was danced by an individual man with intricate footwork. In America, these were turned into reels for contra dances. They were played straight and fast. Here's an example. First, we'll play Harvest Home, a Scottish hornpipe tune that Laura recalls Pa playing. Then we'll play its Americanized version called Cincinnati Hornpipe, also a likely version that Pa would have played. One of the favorite stories in Little House in the Big Woods is the dance at Grandpa's. Pa is a central character in this story, playing tunes and calling the dances. As a young man, he likely went to dances when living in northern Illinois, and later courted his future wife Caroline at dances in Concord, Wisconsin. He taught Laura and her sisters to dance the waltz, polka, and schottische when they were older, and she wrote about dancing at home when neighbors came to call in South Dakota. Now, we often think of the fiddle as the devil's instrument, so we may wonder how we can reconcile Pa's fiddling with Laura's stories of the strict codes of religious behavior on Sunday practiced by the Ingalls. However, the strict ban of dancing and the fiddling that went with it was not as prevalent in the upper Midwest, and Pa and Ma, according to Laura, saw nothing wrong in it, and the evenings passed gaily with Pa's music and our dancing. The reason may be because many accounts of the dances of the day describe them as family affairs, including babies to grandparents, with fewer descriptions of drunken and lewd behavior. And Laura makes it clear that weekday tunes were not played on Sunday. Instead, Pa switched to playing hymns. Laura talks about the songs that Pa played. Many of these were also converted to dance tunes. We collected this next tune from Minnesota fiddler Iva Dingwall, a contemporary of Laura's, and when Pa went to a dance in northern Illinois, here's how he may have heard the familiar minstrel tune, Old Dan Tucker. Let's take a moment to dispel a few myths and talk about what Pa did not play. He was not a country or bluegrass musician. He didn't do ragtime or blues. He didn't play Southern Appalachian, Texas swing, or he didn't sing cowboy songs. All of these styles were developed or discovered after he passed away in 1902. While the music he played predates all of these, many of the traditional tunes he played served as the basis for all of these genres. Pa also sang and fiddled, and one tune Laura mentioned that was mentioned in writings by other fiddlers of the day was the popular Scottish ballad, Sweet Afton, a lovely tune indeed. Charles's time in Illinois, the waltz, the polka, and the schottische were newer musical forms that were still growing in popularity, so he more likely picked up these tunes in Wisconsin and Minnesota and taught Laura and Carrie to dance these round dances in their home. However, he likely learned some quick steps in Illinois, and during his day, these were interchangeable with marches and jigs. We'll play a set of two popular quick steps. The first one is the Krakowian quick step. It's the national dance of Poland. And the second is a French-Canadian tune called Steamboat Quick Step, or it's also called the Washington March or Uncle Jim's Jig, which just shows you how interchangeable these tunes really are. Notice in the set we are using a common technique of the day, switching from 2/4 time to 6/8 time without skipping a beat. Probably one of the most popular dance tunes of the day was Money Musk, so popular that it showed up on the dance card at President Lincoln's inaugural ball. This was originally a Scottish strathspey turned into a reel, and we pair it with Devil's Dream, both tunes mentioned by Laura and many other fiddlers of the day.